Also spent some time focusing on the fact that Taylor didn't seem to show any remorse, and so that could not be used as a factor in the sentencing.
Exactly. That was part of the mitigating factors for the court to look at whether or not Mr. Taylor had any type of remorse, and the court said he did not, and therefore that just didn't come into play.
Can this be appealed?
It will definitely be appealed without doubt, and that process could take anywhere for another year or so, but yes, it will be appealed.
So the legal part, I mean, there's no precedent for this. I mean, the sentencing, you know, it's difficult and it was unpredictable what exactly would happen here. But the fact that it's 50 years is effectively a life sentence, even though this court can't give a life sentence legally.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because this court, under its own statute, is not able to sentence somebody to death nor to a life sentence. It has to be a number of years, and the fact that Charles Taylor is 64 years old with a 50-year sentence, he will die in prison. But I suspect the defense will also appeal on that part as well, because they'll argue that that in essence violates the court statute, but we'll see what happens.
What message does this send to other sitting African leaders on the political side, not just the military side?
Yeah, and I think that was what this court was saying in the end, because of the emphasizing this aggregating factor of Taylor being a head of state.
Abuse of power.
Exactly. It goes beyond the military individuals who are on ground. A head of state, somebody in a political position that is in this situation aiding and abetting, will be held accountable and will be brought to justice in a very severe way.
In the pictures that we saw of Charles Taylor sitting and then eventually standing for the sentences, he looks pretty healthy. Health was a factor that was focused in when the judge was speaking too, right? That he's fine, and that's not going to be a factor in the sentencing.
Now, that would be one of the arguments that the defense put out in its brief, is that if you in fact give Charles Taylor this lengthy sentence, that it could affect his health. The court looked at that and said, no, we don't find any evidence to suggest that.
What was the one most fascinating thing to you in listening to this sentencing? I mean, you followed a lot of these kind of things before.
Yeah, I have to say I was moved by the fact that the court spent so much time focusing on the victims, because in the end, this is what these cases are about.
It was really graphic. I was surprised.
But it needs to be graphic, because this is the reality of a conflict, and this was the reality of this particular conflict. It was quite heinous, and so that was, again, quite moving and I think quite appropriate.
And the sentencing, whatever it ultimately ends up being, whether it's 50 or less or more, depending on the appeal, and why would he be imprisoned in the United Kingdom?
Well, this was a situation where the court had to find, as these international courts have to do, a host country. And actually, back in 2006, when this was being discussed, really no country came to suggest that they could accept Mr. Taylor. The UK, to their credit, said, we will do that, and therefore they will have the responsibility of ensuring that Charles Taylor serves the entire sentence in the UK.
Mark Ellis, thanks so much. We're going to take a short break. If you're just joining us, the former president of Liberia, Charles Taylor, has been sentenced to 50 years. Both sides can appeal. We'll take a short break.
Mr. Taylor, for the foregoing reasons, the trial chamber